Okay, last review for the week is going to be Heavenly Demon Cultivation Simulation, which is a webcomic. It is, well, there are two different now. I'll read the novel description first. Here's the description for the webcomic. A scout in the infamous demon cult, Seolhwi, is on the routine patrol when his squad unexpectedly encounters a fearsome master of the Mount Hua Sect, the sworn enemies of the demon cult. With that morning, the Mount Hua Cult master slaughters the entire squad, and Seolhwi lies dying, lamenting years of service to the cult with nothing to show for it. He is suddenly faced with a video game prompt asking if he would like to start again. Given the opportunity to start over and make different choices, Seolhwi vows to survive and become stronger so he can rise to the top of the demon cult. There you go. Okay, this officially has 9 free chapters. It has an official publisher on Webtoons. Unofficially, if you go looking for it, if you look at the title, there are actually 24 chapters. So just be aware of that. This is an interesting mix of save point regression and cultivation fantasy world. So the overall world is completely cultivation. It involves very familiar themes and groups like the demon cult versus the Mount Hua Sect. And if I'm saying all these things wrong, I probably am, but I don't ever hear them read out loud anywhere. And so a lot of regular cultivation things for everybody else in this universe, except for the main character. So as he's dying, there's a video game prompt, which he doesn't really understand because he's not from our world, transported anywhere. He's existed in his entire life in this fantasy cultivation world. But he can't read it. And it gives him 3 choices: resume, load, save, or restart. And each one of those options are explored throughout the series as things comes to understand and appreciates. But at the beginning, he chooses restart because he figures, why not? I would love to restart my life and not die and do better in this universe, in this world. And from there on, it really is a story where the main character is trying to figure out how to use this strange system that he has no basis for understanding necessarily. And how to survive and grow and become more powerful using this system as he does. And so he goes through several situations where he has to restart again and again, making different decisions that the system kind of forces into using notification prompts. Like he'll come to like a discussion with a character who's super powerful and the one who sent them on this mission. It ultimately ends in his death. And he's given options for dialogue prompts. And so it very much feels like this turn-based system. And he's sweating because the world is frozen. He's like, if I choose this dialogue tree, I'm going to die because it's going to make him mad and he's just going to kill me. Or, and that's literally the discussion he's having with himself as he's going to be forced to make this decision because that's the other side of the coin with this system. Yes, he's getting interesting powers. He's getting a chance to restart his life and relive things. But it's also restricting his choices to some degree. And I thought that was like a nice bit of storytelling, decision making, because otherwise he could just like flee and vanish and it would be an entirely different story. But because these dialogue choices exist where he's forced to make a choice and possibly like die and redo and make a different choice, it was a nice way to kind of guide where the story was going. So I appreciated that as a storyteller, at least. And the author also, and the writers, I should say, and the graphic designers also make sure that the main character doesn't feel like a gamer. So it's very much in line with the fantasy cultivation, where he's like, I don't know what this thing is, but I understand that it's a source of power and I'm going to try to explore it and understand it, so that I can survive and just like not get murdered, in these scenarios and situations and potentially become super powerful, which is what, I think we all want to do. The game mechanics in the story, I'd say they're mild RPG elements. There are no levels necessarily, but there are status pages that have characters' names, hit points, and channel energy, which is in line with the cultivation theme, and other faction details. Additionally, there are notifications. There are a lot of notifications in the story. Mandatory quests with rewards, an inventory system eventually, and these mandatory dialogue trees that the main character has to use to explore these different paths for his life potentially. And I like the fact the main character realizes exactly how powerful the system of responding is. And he tries to take advantage of it as much as possible. So he's not an unintelligent character, even though he starts again really weak. It's a place that he can grow from, and he appreciates that even as somebody who is not a gamer. So it's not a gamer mentality necessarily, but it's somebody who understands how important being powerful in a mirror world is. So there we go. And the last mechanic I'll talk about is the respawn, reload, restart system. Whatever you want to call it. The main character has limited extra lives, so he has to plan out carefully how he's going to do things. And he can actually realizes eventually, you know what, I have 2 extra lives. I can be adventurous. I can take these risks in this life because I know that I'll die and get a chance to restart at this particular save point, or restart at the very beginning of the entire situation. And I like the fact that he uses that intelligently. In addition, he can get extra lives by killing powerful characters, which is an interesting aspect of a risk versus reward situation, where if he can kill this person who's more powerful than him every single time, he can get an extra life. But if he dies doing it, then it's kind of a waste. Or if he dies before he can kill them, then it's definitely a waste because he's lost one of his very few extra lives. So I like that aspect as well. Overall, entertaining read. I had a good time with it. The only downside probably is that the action is a little slow sometimes, because in the middle of could be a very tense fight, the entire scene can literally come to a screeching halt because of the game mechanics and because the world freezes, and the main character might take an entire several panels to kind of think oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do. How am I gonna get out of this thing? And these are my choices for the action scenario. That self kind of thinking now to really kind of slow down the pacing sometimes, which is definitely just a decision making thing in storytelling, and it could be very entertaining for some readers or for some viewers of the comic, and for other people, it really slowed it down. For me, at the beginning, when it was first introduced, it was a major drawback. Eventually, as the story progresses, the main character starts using those opportunities intelligently. So there was a nice progression there. But for me, the road, I think, on the story is seeing the main character use his future knowledge and the system to survive and grow in power. So it's a good combination of that regressor kind of system use. For me, the score is 7.3 out of 10. It's heavily demon cultivation system with the score 7.3 out of 10.